On this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we'll be talking about 5 guys. No, not the burger, which by all means is a great burger. Talking about the 5 guys who've coached the Carolina Panthers in their 27-year history as a franchise. Okay guys, before we get into the video today, please subscribe to the channel. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. Hit that bell notification so you can be notified of more content just like today's videos. I basically cover videos dealing with the Carolina Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, some Charlotte Hornets, and some major college sports in the Carolinas. Make sure you pound that like button, but please subscribe by all means. Okay guys, today's episode we're basically talking about the Carolina Panthers and the coaching history. We got 5 guys. There's a little asterisk because, well, one of the guys we didn't even put in there is guy number 6, who coached 2 games for the Panthers, but we really don't include him. It's just an interim. But the 5 major coaches we've had with the Carolina Panthers. Panthers started playing in 1995. Dom Capers, head coach. He's a Pittsburgh Steelers defensive coordinator. He has some defensive coaching stints in the old USFL. Coached some college, I believe some defensive backs in college in the 80s. Dom Capers came to the Panthers, first head coach we ever had. It was his first coaching gig. Now he went into coaching later on, the first head coach for the Houston Texans, and I believe he got that gig because of his success early on in putting the expansion team together. Got to remember, 1995, Dom Capers' first year, he finished 7-9. It was week 6, I believe, before the Panthers got their first win. They beat the Jets, but he finished strong, 7-9, very close to having an 8-8 season, almost a winning season, and it was pretty daggone successful for an expansion team. Now, Dom Capers only lasted 4 years. He burned out early. His second season was by far his most successful. He finished 12-4. He was 1-1 in the playoffs. They had a wild card game where they beat the Cowboys in Charlotte. First year in Charlotte. We were undefeated that year. And then they had to go up and play Brett Favre and Reggie White in Green Bay for the NFC Championship game in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, and they were beaten. And Green Bay was the best team that year. But Carolina gave it a go. Kerry Collins was the quarterback. Third season, Dom Capers kind of fizzled out a little bit. He did finish 7-9. Just trying to restructure some things with the team. And then by year 4, he's 4-12, he's fired. He kind of, I wouldn't say he lost it all, but basically spent too much money. They brought in some expensive free agents. Just didn't quite work out with them. So, in saying that, Dom Capers just ended up just really fizzling out. Had an overall record in the 4 years with the Panthers, 30 wins, 34 losses. It's a pretty mediocre coach. I guess the positives were, he never, other than his last year, kind of started 2 7-9 seasons in the middle of the road. Had that 1 12-4 year, got us to our first playoffs, like I said, 1-1. Not too bad, but only 4 years. Now, our second head coach, with the 5 we've going on right now, it's kind of hard when we get to the last coach, the coach we're on now, because he's just entering his second season. But of the 4 first head coaches, this guy's probably ranked number 4, George Seifert. George Seifert comes in after having Dom Capers as a defensive-minded coach. Under Jerry Richardson decided, let's get an offensive-minded coach. And George Seifert taking over for Bill Walsh for the 49ers and won a Super Bowl with Jerry Rice and the guys, I believe Steve Young. Seifert was a great coach, had a great record, but he comes to Carolina and he totally tarnished his record. In fact, he did so poorly in Carolina that he never really got another head coaching stint again. I think it proved him right. Now he starts out in 99, took over for Dom Capers, who had finished 4-12, and he goes 8-8, finished second place. Steve Berline, man, he looked so good at quarterback for us. And I put up some huge numbers for this team, some of the best passing stats we had. Defensively, we were a little weak, but remember, Seifert was an offensive coach. Second season with the Panthers in 2000, George Seifert goes 7-9. So he takes a step down. Him and Berline start butting heads. Now, the one thing about it is George Seifert wants to make a change here. We end up drafting Chris Winkie, but we've got this quarterback, I believe it was Matt Lytle. Might have been Matt Little. I believe he's passed away now. He saw him as being the future quarterback. And he ends up ushering off Steve Berline. And in that third year, man, Seifert, we won our first game, Minnesota Vikings, won in 15. Steve Smith had a kick return for a touchdown in that game. Man, wow, we're looking great. And it was the last year, I believe, of the NFC West. But we finished 1-15, 5th place. And Seifert is let go. He had an overall record of 16-32, didn't make the playoffs. Best record he had was 8-8. And unless Matt Rhule comes in and craps the bed, George Seifert's going to be the worst coach we ever had. Totally overall, like I said, 16-32 record. Now, the next coach we bring in, after you finish a 1-15 campaign, Fox comes in, John Fox, been a New York Giants defensive coordinator. He comes in, he had some stints for the USFL as well, coaching defense. Comes in 2002 and brings the team to a respectable 7-9 record. So he improved upon what Seifert did. You could see the changes beginning to take place. In his second season with the Panthers, John Fox, man, he goes 11-5. We end up in, I believe, I'm not sure if he won the divisional wild card, but he ended up doing well enough in the playoffs, man. We finished like, we won 3 games in the playoffs that year. We got in and won a game, and I believe against Dallas as well, and we ended up going on and playing, I'm trying to remember who we played, the Rams at St. Louis, who had the greatest show on turf. We beat them in overtime, man. Ex-Clown, I believe it was the play. Steve Smith catches a slant over the middle from Jake Delhomme. We win that game, surprisingly shocked the Rams. Then we go to Philly for the NFC Championship. We dominate them. We beat them 14-3. Musa Muhammad caught a touchdown in that play. I remember the hit Sports Illustrated cover. He was hushing the crowd. And we ended up going to the Super Bowl. And probably played the 2 Super Bowls the best one we had. We lost 32-29. If John Casey doesn't kick the ball out of bounds with 2 minutes to go, the Patriots don't get that great field position. Maybe they don't get the field goal, we go to overtime. Because I'm telling you, if Jake Delhomme and that offense got the ball first in overtime, if it would have made it to that, I don't know if the Patriots defense could have stopped them. But now, after that season, he goes 7-9. So he took a step back down, but then again, respectable. John Fox, 7-9. Then we go 11-5. And, Fox has got this team playing, folks. I mean, 2 7-9 years, 2 11-5 years, 2-1 in the playoffs. 3-1 in the playoffs. Then we go into playoffs, and who do we play? We play the Giants, shut them out on the road. Then we get the Bears in Chicago, and we beat the crap. Steve Smith was the man in that game. But then we go to Seattle, have some running back injuries, just were decimated. Seattle had won their division, had a better record, a home game, and we were just beat up from having to play the 2 games previous and with no running back. And I know Steve Smith scored like a punt return touchdown in that game, but we were pretty much beat. I think Sean Alexander was a running back for Seattle, and we were just killed. So far, John Fox is 5-2 in the playoffs for the Panthers, looking good. Then he goes 8-8. Always in his history, the Panthers never had back-to-back winning seasons. Then he goes 7-9 again. Well, like I said, if you're staying 7-9 and above, you're doing something right. Not perfect records. You want to stay consistent, but you're doing okay. Then he goes 12-4, and by far, I thought, man, we had an incredible year, man. We did lose 1 game to Tampa Bay. Of course, Tampa Bay was a great team at this point in time. Had a good overall team. I think we lost 1 game to either Atlanta and New Orleans. It might have been Atlanta. It was a close game. We lost a couple other games along the way. One might have been Minnesota. But we finished 12-4. Had a good record. I'm thinking, man, we're going to go places in the playoffs. Play Arizona Cardinals. And they had gotten blitzed by New England right before the playoffs started. We get in the playoffs, get Arizona, gets Panthers in the playoffs. We go 12-4. It's looking pretty good. Like I said, we get to Jake Delhou's birthday, of all things. I'm thinking, man, we got the Cardinals going on here. We should win this game. And if a good things happen, we can end up hosting the NFC Championship game. And I felt pretty good about our chances. And man, the Cardinals, Kurt Warner and Larry Fitzgerald, they just come and took it to town. I think Jake Delhomme threw 5 interceptions on his birthday, fumbled the ball, and we got blitzed. Just had the worst game you could possibly have. And I'm not taking anything away from Arizona because they just came together at the right time, got hot in the playoffs, and they were on their game that day when they played the Panthers. And the Panthers, I think, if you'd have played the game the next day, I think we could have won. And it's not to take anything, like I said, away from the Cardinals, because they made the Super Bowl that year, came very close to winning against Pittsburgh that year. But I really felt it was a good team, and that was kind of like John Fox's last hurrah, because 3 years, 3 playoff losses. Yeah, he had the 3 wins the one year, and then he had the 2 wins another, but that 1 year there, his 3rd playoff appearance with the Panthers, he fizzled out in that game against the Cardinals. Then, the year after that, John Fox goes 8-8. And we've seen this with him. 11-5, 7-9, 11-5, 8-8, 12-4, 8-8. But then come a tough part. And it was kind of right before the strike. And we had an owner, wanted to pay some players, but he thought, Jerry Richardson thought the owners deserved more money, and you had that thing with the pie charts with Peyton Manning, and he kind of wanted to pay some guys, but at the same time, he kind of crippled John Fox, the salary. Things weren't going well. We knew it was John Fox's last year, and he goes 2-14. We beat the 49ers that year. I believe we beat the Cardinals that year, but we went 2-14 and looked terrible because we got the #1 draft pick. But other than Super Bowl 38, John Fox was a pretty good coach. And I just feel bad his 9th year because he had 7-9, 8-8, 7-9, 8-8, 7-9, 11-5, 11-5, 12-4. And then he gets this 2-14 campaign. So, he fizzles out. And overall, John Fox ended up with having 3 winning seasons, no back-to-backs, 73 and 71 record with a 5-3 playoff wins in his career. So, he was a winning coach for us while we had him. Then we get where we draft Cam Newton and we bring Ron Rivera in, another defensive-minded coach. And I really had high hopes for Ron Rivera. I thought, man, this is the kind of guy we need. I kind of blame Hurney. We got Hurney here, and we draft Cam Newton, Cam this prospect. But daggone if he didn't shit the bed on every draft pick in that draft after that. I mean, every pick. Fewell and Terrell McLean, and just terrible picks. But Ron Rivera had 9 years with the Panthers. He starts his first season because John Fox finished 2-14. Ron Rivera with a rookie quarterback goes 6-10. I felt like, okay, we had a couple games we could have won. We could have finished around 500. I'll take it. I wanted to see great improvement in next year. We get Luke Kuechly as a rookie. We didn't think he was going to start in the middle. Ended up doing so. We finished 7-9, so not much better, but we're losing these close games. And I kind of thought, well, it's Ron Rivera, rookie coach, a young quarterback. We're in these games and we're getting, coming close to winning. We go 7-9. And we start up the 3rd year under Ron. 1-3, he's kind of on the hot seat, but we fire Marty Hurney. We end up going 1-3, and then the next thing you know, we won like 11 out of 12. We finished 12-4. Ron Rivera becomes Coach of the Year. Gets us in the playoffs, does well. Loses that first round game to the 49ers. Tough fought game. Thought we're going places. And next year we were kind of decimated by injuries. But the whole NFC South was. And we ended up winning the division that year, but we go 7-8-1. Here you go. Can't have back-to-back winning years, but we do win the division 2 years in a row. But we get in the playoffs and we beat the Cardinals, and then we lose to Seattle in the next round. Now here's where it gets good. 2015, Ron Rivera, Carolina Panthers, 15-1. Kelvin Benjamin goes down preseason. We pick up some key players. And this is where Cam Newton's at his finest. Was it Ron Rivera coached so well, or was it that Cam Newton took this team on his back and carried him with a great defense? I don't think this defense was as good as the 2013 defense, but it was good enough. Forced a lot of turnovers. Just Josh Norman had a coming out party here. But we go 15-1. And even that one loss, we lost to the Falcons in Week 16, and we end up going 14-1 after that game. And then we win the next week to finish the regular season at 15-1. Even that one loss, we could have won. And we get to the Super Bowl 50, and we shit the bed. And that's why I think John Fox had a better Super Bowl 38 game than Ron Rivera, where he gets us a couple playoffs wins against the Cardinals in Seattle, and then he comes around here and loses to the Broncos in a game I felt we should have won. Now, I still got high hopes for the team. But we did get hit by injuries and had some tough games. Some losses to Denver the opening week we should have won. A game against Kansas City we blew it, we should have won. Had a couple more games and we ended up finishing 6-10. It was a fluke. Then we go 11-5. But we had a couple games that year. I know we lost to the Saints that year. If we could have mustered one of those, we'd have won the division. Who do we have in the first round? Wild card game against the Saints, and they beat us 3 in a row. Ron Rivera just was out-coached by old nuthead for the Cardinals, the Saints, Sean Payton. We go 11-5. So we've won, in 5 years we've got 3 division titles, 3 winning seasons, playoffs 3 out of 5 years, or 4 out of 5 years, I should say, because the 7-8-1 year was a playoff year. But we haven't tasted playoff success since the 15-1 year, 2015. Then we go 7-9. We had some losses again, tight. We're back in there. Things look good. And then we end up, Jerry Richardson leaves the team. We sell it. Dave Tepper comes in, thinking his first year he wanted to see what he had with Ron. And he wanted to see what he had with Marty Hurney. And he goes goes into 14 games, he goes 5-9. And we finished 5-11. He's fired after the debacle, the Redskin game, and we got 2 games left. I believe it was against the Colts, and then we had a game, I want to say, against Atlanta. It could have been New Orleans, but I think it was Atlanta. And we put Perry Fewell, the secondary coach, in as head coach, and he goes 0-2. So I can't give Ron the 5-11 mark. He's 5-9. But overall, Ron finishes 76-65-1. Winning as coach in the history of the Panthers. Did not coach the most games, though, because John Fox coached more playoff games. But John Fox also coached 9 years, just like Ron Rivera. But there's 2 less games because Ron Rivera got fired at the end. He goes 3-4 in the playoffs. He went 0-1 with the 49er loss in 2013. He goes 1-1 the next year, 7-8-1 in 2014, where we beat the Cardinals and lose to Seattle. 2-1 in the playoffs, where we beat the Seahawks and we beat the Cardinals before losing to the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and then the 0-1 game against the Saints in 2017. So Super Bowl 50 was his mainstay, but he blew it, folks. That was the year we should have won it all. I think Ron Rivera was the second best coach we've had to this point. I really think John Fox had more consistency. Of course, Rivera had, Cam Newton. That made the difference. He had a better defense as well during these years. We had Kuechly. But I think as far as playoff accessibility, John Fox was a better coach. Now we finally get to Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule's getting ready to start his second year. It's kind of hard to put him in this list of these 5 guys, but we have to. This is a hire by David Tepper. Is he a defensive-minded, offensive-minded coach? Kind of more defensive, but I see him just as a player's coach. He's kind of like the mediator. He depends on his offensive coordinator and Joe Brady, and he depends on his defensive coordinator and Phil Snow. And he's kind of middle-of-the-road guy. Although he played linebacker in college, he's kind of in the middle. Tough, grounded-out guy. Now, he finishes 5-11 his first year. It's kind of hard to knock him for it. Same record we had the year before because of some of the situations that we had with the players. Get rid of Cam, kind of start fresh. Luke Kuechly had retired. We lose him. But I saw a lot of promise. I saw a lot of building. And other than the 2 Tampa Bay games, Matt Rhule, every game we played, he lost by 8 points or less. Then we get to the Saints game, the last game of the season, and we didn't. But I thought by then we rested some players. It was the end of the year. We knew it was going to be over for Bridgewater. But, man, we had some close games. I mean, you really look at our record being 5-8, and those 8 losses were, like I said, 8 points or less, and just 3 debacles, 2 being against Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay, and 1 against the Saints. Now, what can Matt Rhule do that's different? I love how he's building through the draft. I like where we're going. I like how he's starting more of the rookies, letting the young guy play, and not like John Fox would stick with veterans till it was too late. Ron Rivera was known for this as well. I like how he's getting the most out of his young players. But what Matt Rhule can do different than these other guys, hey, his second year here, if he has a winning record, which I see can happen, yeah, he could finish 7-10 or 8-9, or I really feel he's going to go 9-8 or 10-7. If Matt Rhule has a winning season this year, if he comes back next year and has another winning season, it's going to be something the Carolina Panthers have never done, have back-to-back winning seasons. It's got to get us in the playoffs like 3 of our other 4 coaches have done. It's got to get us to a Super Bowl like 2 of these 4 coaches have done. And by far, other than the winning back-to-back seasons, he's got to win us a Super Bowl. But I think Matt Rhule can do it. I really like a lot of the difference he's bringing to this franchise. And we're really going to see with him and Tepper and then Fitterer as a new GM after we got rid of Hurney, what Matt Rhule's capable of. So, guys, there you have it. The 5 guys we have as head coaches in Carolina Panthers history. What do you think of today's content? Please, by all means, subscribe. Leave some comments below. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Remember, it's free. Give me a thumbs up and hit that bell notification for further content like today's video. And we'll see you the next time on the Carolina Sports Guy.